Hi, what's up, guys? It's Will and John back. The MMA Huddle is here for UFC on ESPN 11, again from the Apex. As they're doing the run of shows, they're getting them shows out nice and weekly, and we've got a really good fight card, like a very well-matched, put-together fight card. And the main event is Curtis Blaydes against Alexander Drago Volkov in the main event. Coming off a fairly fun card. It looked pretty weak on paper. It turned out there was a lot of fireworks in that card, a lot of big finishes, a lot of fun fights. So yeah, before we get into our predictions at the end of the show, of course, I'll be getting into the betting kind of side of things a little bit. You guys are doing absolutely awesome in subscribing to the channel and just growing the channel. Like, I just had a look there. I think we're at 1.15, I think it is.
Yeah, it's getting quicker. It's growing quicker than I thought, especially because of COVID and stuff. I didn't realise, but it's kind of just went up a lot quicker than I thought. So thank you, honestly.
It's been probably, actually, on my side, it's been surprising. I didn't think so many would be subscribing and that, but keep it going. Keep it absolutely going, and let's see where we finish. We've got another 6 odd months of the year. Let's see where we can finish, because we're probably going to blow our expectations of where we want to be this year out the water anyway. So, yeah, we're going to get into this fight card. We might as well just get straight into it. I'm sure John's ready and willing to go. We're going to start off here with a fight that got put together pretty much in the last 24 hours here. You've got Austin Hubbard, who's was supposed to be fighting Joe Solecki, which I thought was going to be a really fun fight. But now they've got a newcomer. I don't know how much John's watched. I've watched a little bit, not too much. We've got Max Rohskopf. I think that's how you pronounce him. A very much a newcomer within the sport. Very kind of new, 5-0 record. How do you initially kind of see the fight going?
I don't know what, he's actually not a bad short-nosed fighter, ladies and gentlemen. He's actually got a really good skill set, so I'll actually tip my cap off here. I think he'll be a surprise little bundle in this UFC tenure. Well, first thing, let's go to Austin. You know, Austin he's got the experience already in the UFC. He's had 3 fights. He's got the kind of say jitters out of the way. For me, Austin on the feet, that's his stronghold there. He's far more adapted to the striking side of things. I find that when Austin's on his back, he's not as eager to get up as you should be. He's very calm on the back. He's very, he's happy to be there, but he's kind of stalling a little bit. I feel like Austin against Max cannot afford going to the ground. Max himself has done some grappling competitions, as well as he's got submission wins. I watched Titan FC fight. I watched Pro Day. I watched one of his fights on. Is it CFC? No, is it CFC? CFC, yeah. He's very opportunistic for the submissions. He's got the wrestling historical background, but his grappling game, that's something that he's quite advanced with, I'd say. He does because he does the grappling competitions, because he's obviously got that wrestling background, but he throws heavy. And that's obviously due to the confidence of just himself, as well as having that grappling back in his back pocket. I think Austin here just has to be really cautious in the fight. I think he can't be engaged in the kind of brawling, because that's where Max would probably take the opportunity to go for takedowns. I'm a little bit apprehensive to pick Austin. I'm probably going to go for Max. I think he might pull a little upset here and catch folks out. I think with the submission game he's got, if he can get Austin to the ground, I think he should be getting a submission win. I think he's got really good really kind of good transitions on the grappling aspect. I'm going to go for the upset. I'm going to go for a random one on here, because I haven't got the best read with Max. But from looking at his grappling side of things, I've just got a feeling that he could pull something out of the hat here. So I'm going to go with Max on this one.
Yeah, I've only watched a couple of fights, but and he's a guy that I've known about before, a resident of kind of Las Vegas, and I believe he's got a really kind of good wrestling background. And like I said, I watched his last fight against, I think it was Paulo Silva. I think. Yeah. So, and then saying that he is a 6-6 fighter, so this is a step up in competition for Max here. And to be fair, when you look at Austin Hubbard, a very kind of serviceable fighter, a tough fighter. He's not easy to look super good against, and he's had a couple of really kind of tough matchups as well. He's obviously got his one UFC win against Kyle Preplik, which he kind of really won that through his striking. and he mixed in takedowns very well in that fight. But his other two fights outside of that against really dangerous grapplers in different aspects of the grappling. You've obviously got David Ramos, who is a jiu-jitsu whiz, very, very accomplished on the ground, and he got him down there and he survived. So fair play him for that. Then he faced Marco Madsen, who's an Olympic medalist, and he just couldn't really stop the takedowns in that fight. On the feet, he was landing decent strikes, but he couldn't stop the takedowns. So, like I said, I still don't know much all about Max. If I watch a little bit more, I think I'd probably be a bit more confident in him. But guys, I think he's 5-0 with 5 wins via submission, so he's obviously very good down there. I think he's a Drysdale black belt as well, so very dangerous down there. I'm going to pick him in this one, but like I say, I think my prediction should be a little bit more reserved, considering I need to watch probably a little bit more of him. But I'll pick him in that spot there to win in his UFC debut, which would be nice there. So up next, Roxanne Modafferi against Lauren Murphy. I'm going to pick Lauren Murphy actually in this one. Not being super high on her as a fighter, I feel that she really kind of got away with one in her last fight against
big time
KGB Lee.
Yeah.
I watched that fight, and some people are actually disagreeing with me when I did my video last night. It was like they thought that Murphy deserved to win that fight, and I'm just like, oh,
I don't know where I saw that.
Yeah, dudes, I respect your opinion and stuff like that, but I don't really agree. I thought she was outstruck pretty convincingly. Yeah. Significant strikes. There was only like 20 in it, really, to be fair. But the harder strikes were definitely landing on Andrea Lee, and she was kind of controlling some of the space up on the feet. But Lauren would mix in a couple of takedowns here and there throughout the fight and kind of made it maybe closer than what it should have been. And then she came through that Mara Romero Barriault fight before that, where she lost the first pretty convincingly, won the second round, and then took her out in the third round. So that's a nice feather in her cap. And she does fight close in some of her fights. The Lee one, the Barb Honchak one, and she's facing Roxanne here, who's coming off probably her biggest win in her career.
Yeah. In the UFC tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, considering she beat the kind of hype train in Macy Barber, and she really came out of there and she just dominated with her grappling and held on to her. But in saying that, Macy had a really bad injury early on in that fight and was kind of immobilised from the get-go. Some people I've seen are pretty confident in Roxanne in this spot, and I don't know how you can be super confident in Roxanne, because she's like one of the least athletic girls I think I've ever seen in my life. Super determined and ready to get in there and scrap. But I think Lauren Murphy can mix it up in her. I think she can stop the takedowns at Roxanne, which I think she will need to do. I think she will have to take Lauren down here and control her. And I don't think she's going to be able to do that as frequently as she has done in previous fights, like the Antonina Shevchenko one, and kept her there and really just dominated her through her top position. So I've got Lauren Murphy to kind of outstrike her, maybe even take Roxanne down throughout the fight, but I've got Lauren Murphy to win that one.
Okay, nice. I like that. I'm actually going to go the way of Roxanne Modafferi. And it's not often I really pick Roxanne in some fights because you just don't know. But I think her strength and conditioning, I don't know what, she changed huge. Like her physique has remarkably changed in the past couple of years. She's on like a new regimen for her strength and conditioning, which has enabled her in the grappling side of things, which is her strongest asset. So the takedowns she has got a little bit more power. She's obviously training with Joanne Calderwood as well quite a lot, so she's getting a very good striker up against it on a regular basis. Training with John Wood as well, striking coach, Syndicate Emmett, who's he's a very good striking coach. So Roxanne has improved in her striking, which was, to be honest, a lot of people, even myself included, you would laugh at some of the stuff she did in some fights with the striking. Invicta FC, spinning back kick is a very prime, immediate example that comes out of the back of my head. But she has improved. Like that jab that knocked down Macy Barber was a legitimate jab. And do you know what? She was landing strikes of her own. Lauren Murphy, she's aggressive. She herself has shown a bit of improvements with her striking and her combinations. She's getting a bit of confidence when she's going out there. She takes damage though, Lauren Murphy, just quite a bit. I do think she lost the Andrea Lee fight. I've watched it back, and I think the only reason they gave it to her is because she got a couple of takedowns at the end of each round, and I mean at the last 10 seconds of the rounds, the judges must just somehow thought, that's it, she wins. No idea. I think she took the worst damage out between the two of them. But I think Lauren Murphy here, she can herself potentially get taken down with this, and I think with Roxanne Modafferi, she'll time this with it, and she'll get the takedown. She somehow has that knack, Roxanne, to bring you into her style of fight. She has a way to bring your striking game to her kind of level, so to speak, where you find it a bit difficult. I think Lauren Murphy isn't of the fight IQ to really bring that on. So, and Roxanne's tough. We've seen Roxanne get hit quite a lot, and she somehow has like a head like a coconut. So, I think Roxanne can get a fight down to the ground. I think she can control Lauren for quite some time. So I'm going to go with Roxanne Modafferi. I think she could potentially get a submission win later on in the fight.
Lightweight division, we've got Frank the Crank Camacho against the steamroller Matt Frevola. This is kind of all the kind of ingredients have been a really fun fight. Who have you got in this one?
I think you got a potential fight of the night in this fight. Potential, definitely, because Matt Frevola goes forward and swings. Frank Camacho, he goes forward and swings. You know, you got two men who have a thirst for violence, and they are happy to reciprocate getting a return shot back. They're not these guys who will jump in, land a couple, and get out there. They kind of stay. They're kind of happy to stay there. One of the things I think Frank Camacho needs to look out for potentially is Matt Frevola might be shooting in for the takedowns after a couple of strikes. He might go in for the takedowns on Frank, and I think that's one of the worries with Frank Camacho for me is that I wanted to sway towards Frank Camacho because I found that he can crack so hard, and Frank's been rocked. Frevola's been rocked in the previous UFC fight. So I think if Frank catches him, he's going to get, you know, he can get hurt really bad in this one. But Matt Frevola's got a really good gas tank. You know, he's got a good output for 3 rounds, whereas Frank, you have seen it drop a little bit in the latter rounds, where you see his striking slide off a little bit, so his hands will drop a bit lower, his striking's not as clean. I'm going to go with I'm going to go with Matt Frevola, only because I think that he can just get those takedowns at those kind of important times in the fights. I think he has that little bit there to get the win. I think he'll probably go to decision because a pair of them are just too tough to probably put each other out. But I kind of swaying towards Matt Frevola, but I just think we're going to get a potential fight tonight. I think the pair of them are just going to go toe to toe. It's going to be I'm looking forward to this fight on more of a violence perspective than anything else.
It's a really good, well-matched fight. I like it a lot, I'll be honest with you. I think that it's just a matchup. I think for Frevola, I've not been super high on him, but I think this is actually, just when I was watching his fight, I think this is an easier matchup than what he's had in his last 2 fights, because he's had, when you look at Pena and Gillian Turner, that they're kind of still young in the sport, but that they're both kind of freaks for the division because they're big guys, and he handled them accordingly. And even the Orlando Venata one, he's always a tricky fighter as well. Frank Camacho, you kind of know what you're going to get. He's going to be in your face. He's going to be slinging bombs. That's kind of what he's all about. And when you look at his fights as well, when I was watching, like, his losses are not bad losses at all, Frank Camacho, because Dariush, in my opinion, is probably a top 10 guy at the best of times, I think, with his skill set that he has. Jeff Neal, I believe, will fight for a UFC belt one day, or will be in around
top 5.
about
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so. And Drew Dober, he's in his best run of his kind of career now, so he's been catching guys at kind of inopportune times. And saying that, the win that he got over Nick Hine, he kind of caught him at the better time, because he was probably looking to kind of head out of the sport at that point, and he absolutely kind of bludgeoned Nick Hine in that fight. His attacks to the body were pinpoint, and like I said, I'm still not sure about Camacho's gas tank, and I think Frevola can take over in the late parts of this fight. I think early on it could be close, but I can still see Frevola edging some spots. But I just think that if he avoids getting chin checked by Camacho, who definitely throws a lot more, lands a lot more, and absorbs a lot more, then I think that if Frevola can really mix it up, get takedowns, and that's what he's did in majority of his fights. Matt Frevola. I think he got like 4 against Luis Pena. He got a couple against Jalen Turner. I just like him to kind of win a really hard fought decision. I think it could play out close, but I have got Matt Frevola to kind of continue his winning streak here and keep it going and win this fight here. So Frevola via UD for me. Women's flyweight division with Courtney Casey against Gillian Robertson. Good matchmaking. I like the matchmaking. To be honest with you, I think it's a good fight. Courtney Casey jumping straight back in there after beating Mara Romero Barriela, where, to be honest with you, the fight only lasted, a couple of minutes? 3-4 minutes maybe, but for the majority of that first round she was on her back, she was losing, and then it was kind of a mix of Mara Romero's kind of really bad fight IQ and skills of Courtney Casey, which we have seen in the past. I mean, she did it against Randa Marcos, where she caught him with a beautiful armbar as well. So she's obviously got some skills to use down on the ground. And when you look at Gillian Robertson, to me, she's a finish or be finish fighter. I think if she cannot get the position that she wants, or she doesn't get the fight where she wants it, I think honestly she'll look for a little bit of a way out. And on the feet, I think she's kind of outgunned a little bit. On the mat is where she needs this fight to take place. And in saying that, Courtney Casey is someone that you can kind of take down pretty easily. She will kind of flop to her back. You can grab a single leg, get her down. You can tie her up a little bit. But like I say, she is a little bit dangerous down there, so you have to be careful. And with Gillian Robertson, I mean, she actually put a nice little streak together. But she's another girl that if you take her down, you can actually submit her. Myra, I think, Silver caught her down there as well. So I'm going to take Courtney Casey. I like her up at 125. I think she fills into that division a little bit better. And overall, I just think that she's tougher. I think even if she gets put in the ground, she will find a way, whether it be in between rounds or whatever, to get back to the feet. And I think Gillian Robertson can struggle if this goes 15 minutes. I think, honestly, she might look for the way out of this fight if she can't get the fight where she wants it. So, plus, I was looking at Instagram, and Gillian Robertson's not been at American Top Team. She's been at some smaller kind of gyms, and I know that ATT's been open for a majority of the whole pandemic thing, where the pros are only allowed in. So that's kind of interesting to me. So I'm going to take Courtney Casey. I think she can actually stop Gillian Robertson. So I'll take her via TKO, probably early in round number 3.
Yeah, well, losing her main coach, so to speak, Dean Thomas, is probably something Gillian's maybe on she might be on a little track to try and find a new Dean Thomas. So that's something she might be doing at the moment, experimenting with other gyms, and at the same time feeding that knowledge. She's still young in the game. She's still growing. She is an exciting prospect. I still think she's an exciting prospect. Even though I'm going to go with Courtney Casey, I still think she's got a lot about her. She's got a superb submission game. I think if she adds to striking, if she can work a little bit more on that, I think staying at ATT would be better for her, because you train with the likes of Joanna, Jacek, don't get me wrong, it's probably why she doesn't want to train there, because sparring day with Joanna is probably horrible. But to train with the likes of those, people like that is only going to improve your striking. And for me, Courtney Casey, I think flyweight is the division for her. I think I'm glad she's in there now. I think she could have moved up a bit sooner. She's just perfect for that body weight. For that size of her frame, it suits her to the ground. I think she'll find she's got far more energy, far more strength, and she's got a lot more in there. And do you know what? That builds and breeds confidence in a fight. And when a fight is confident, it's a dangerous weapon. Getting that win Courtney had is a huge one. Like you say, the takedown was the worry. We know Gillian's going to shoot in for the takedown pretty soon in the fight. She's going to shoot. She's going to look for that single leg that she likes to get and reap it with the leg. I just hope that if Courtney does get taken down, she's super active off her back, so she's rather annoying. So I think Gillian will find a bit of a trouble time there, because Courtney just doesn't stop. So I think Courtney could fight to get back up, or she might be able to just keep Gillian on the end of her jabs, because I just don't think Gillian has the footwork quite yet on the striking side to things to really close the gap properly without putting yourself in danger. So I'm going to go with Courtney Casey as well, bro. I think she should be able to get a strong win here. And like I say, I've said it before last time, with a partner, Raquel Close, she's training with. She's got a great guy there who's going to help her improve as well. It's it's a win-win for her. So I think she should do well in this fight.
Moving up to the men's middleweight division, we've got Marc-André Barriault against Polish fighter Oskar Piechota. Who do you lean in that one there?
It's got to be a pink slip fight, this, hasn't it?
Yeah,
it's got to be. This is a pink slip written all over it. They both lost 3 in a row or something like that. Now Mark has lost 3 via decision though, and Oskar has been stopped every time, whether it be a submission or strike. One thing I don't think Mark is going to do is put Oskar to sleep. I don't think he'll strike him and knock him out. But for me, for Oskar, it's flight. He's got to fight for his life here. He cannot hold back. He cannot be tentative. He's got to go for it. Oscar's ace in the hole is getting him on the ground and using his jiu-jitsu. He'll have a stronger jiu-jitsu than Mark, but because he's considered to be a good level black belt, Oskar. But I think Marc-André can stop the takedowns, but I think Mark as well is going to grind this fight. I think he's going to win the fight from grinding. I think he's going to strike with Oskar. He's got a tough chin on him, Mark. He can take a punch. He's going to get Oskar to the cage, and he's going to grind him out for 3 rounds. It's not going to be a pretty fight. It'd be like the Jotko fight, which was not a pretty fight. That was not at all a pretty fight. But I just think Marc-André here can get the win with the grind, because I think Oskar might be a little bit trigger shy because of the striking, getting knocked out. It does maybe play a factor into it. Oskar doesn't get the fight to the ground. That's another worry. So I'm going to go with Mark here. I think that he can get the fight on the feet, keep it on the feet, and get him to the cage and really start to grind Oskar. It's more a case of getting to the second round when both of them are sweating, the bodies aren't as easy to grip for the grappling side of things, for the takedowns. That gets really difficult. So I'm more favouring Mark here because I think he should be able to control this fight on the cage with the double underhook battle, and just it won't be a pretty fight, I don't think, but I think we'll see that kind of thing happen. I go for a decision win for Mark here.
Yeah, it's absolutely a pink slip fight here. Win or lose, whoever loses, is gone from the UFC without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm going to go Barriault as well. Like I said, I don't really like what I've seen in the last year from Piechota, where he's supposed to be a black belt. He's been submitted a couple of times now. And saying that, the guys that he's lost to, when you look at GM3, majority of his wins are via submission. He's a crafty guy down there. Vieira might be the best jiu-jitsu guy in the sport now. And is an absolute beast. He actually did pretty well to get out a couple of kind of bad positions there and get back to his feet, but was always kind of against Vieira. And then he got absolutely smashed by Soriano last time out. So I think if he's going to win this fight, he's probably going to look to take this fight to the ground and use that so-called black belt that he's got, because that's where he probably should have an advantage, because I believe that Barriault will pressure him a little bit more and look to probably back him up. And it was actually brought to my attention by a very respected guy, which I'll not name, but he says he's just watched the fights, and he literally watched the Meerschaert fight, who's not really known as a devastating striker. All these guys were pushing him back, and Barriault, that is his kind of game plan, is to probably pressure, put him against the cage and unload him a little bit. But he is susceptible to being taken down. You've seen that last time out against Park. I think it was, get taken down in occasions there. So that's obviously Pichota's path to victory, is get the fight to the ground and control through there. I think Barriault's not going to get taken down as much as that previous fight, and I think he's going to win through pressure and win the fight through that. So I'll take Barriault for the win there. Tecia Torres against Brianna Van Buren. Really interesting fight here.
Yes.
I watched, and then I went and looked at the betting line, and I was like, okay then. So I'll come in and just say I'm picking Tecia Torres straight off the bat. I'm not going to say I'm not super impressed by Van Buren, but she's a girl who came through Invicta. She's had pretty low level opposition, but that's the kind of opposition that's kind of down there, so you can't really get that big jump up, not unless you come to the UFC. And in that jump up to the UFC, she did fight a former Invicta champion, and she did actually fight a really good fight, where I actually liked her pressure. I liked her spamming the kind of body kick. But when I was watching that fight, I was looking at Souza, and I was just thinking, why is she not moving her back off the fence at all? She was sitting there and just letting Van unloading her, and just really throw some strikes and then get in on a takedown or get in a position where she could tie her up a little bit. So in that aspect, Van Buren fought a really good fight, but there was definitely some holes there which I think an experienced vet like Torres can absolutely take advantage of. She's not going to sit there with her back against the cage. She's one of these fighters that has got good movement. She can move around the cage. She can pretty much be on the move for 15 minutes of a fight, and she wasn't able to get that done against the caliber opposition who she's faced recently. I mean, you talk about a death's kind of row of fighters that she's faced recently, where 3 of the 4 fighters she's lost to have all held the belt. So
Yeah.
she's went the full 15 minutes with all those fighters, including Marina Rodriguez, who I think's a top girl anyway. I think she's going to be very, very close to kind of fighting for a belt one day. This is obviously a clear step down in opposition from what she's previously faced, but obviously the UFC think a lot of Van Buren by giving her someone like Tecia Torres, who is probably still a top 10 girl. But I think on the feet you'll have obviously Van Buren pressuring. I think you'll have Torres staying at distance, try to use I think it's Taekwondo she comes from, her background, and look to kind of pick and pop her a little bit and just be on her feet and not absorb damage. But if she gets in positions there where Van Buren's maybe teeing off a little bit, I think that she could be in a little bit of trouble. I can see Van Buren getting her down because someone like Rodriguez got her down, like Zhang Weili got her down, super strong girl. Andrade just threw her around a little bit. Even Michelle Watson head and arm throw. Juliana Lima, I believe, maybe got her down as well. So Rose got her down. So you can get Tecia down. I think she has to fight super smart here, because if she engages and gets clinched up with maybe someone like Van Buren, she could get taken down again. But there is some spots in Van Buren's game you look at and you think, well, Lavinia Souza double-legged her twice in that fight, took her down. You go back to the Montenegro fight, I know that's 2016. She was clinched up against the cage and she couldn't really get off the cage. I don't think Torres will really fight a fight like that. I think she'll look to fight at distance and be on her bicycle for the whole entire fight pretty much. But I'm going to take Tecia Torres via a very, very close decision. I think there's going to be spots here where she might be in a little bit of trouble, but I think it's just going to be a very close fight, which I think could be a split one side. But I've got Tecia Torres for the win.
Yeah, it's a hard pick because you look at Tecia, like you say, and if you look at the record, she's lost 4, but like you state, it's 4 savages. And Brianna Van Buren, I'm high on her because I think she's got a lot of talent. I think she can do a lot. She's 4'11", or the UFC have called her 5 foot. She's an absolute pocket rocket. She's got good power. She's very good for someone that size at getting into the strikes. But is that because Souza isn't really a top striker? Potentially, you know, Souza is more for the probably more happy to be on the ground, but like she beat Kaylin Curran. You know, I think Brianna has got a lot of potential. I think it's just a shame that the strawweight division is a bit too shallow. So there's a worry that, like you said, Will, bang on, she can get pushed up a bit quicker than you need to. Kind of like the UFC heavyweight division, where guys get pushed up a bit quicker. There's no happy medium in that division where you can get a kind of all-rounder, so-so fighter. I think Tecia Torres, the experience she's got is insane against the girl she's fought, and considering she went decisions with all of them, like she didn't get stopped by them, shows A, she's got an insane amount of toughness. B, she's got the craft in the ring, or cage as you would like to say, to be able to last. She's got a survival instinct to get in and survive for 3 rounds. The technique is something that she'll have to use. I think she'll have to utilise front kicks, side kicks, stuff like that, just to keep Van Buren at distance. Counter strike if I was Tecia, when Van Buren's coming forward, cut the angles to use your footwork, and really maybe also I think Van Buren is open potentially to leg kicks because of the way she comes forward. There's a good chance of inside leg kicks to knock her off her feet. But I think Torres, even though she lost 4, I don't think people should look at it like, oh, she's awful. It's just the 4 savages she's fought. It's not the same as like, let's say, the 2 guys we just spoke about. They haven't fought former champions. They've and they've lost 3. But I'm gonna go with Tecia Torres as well. I think she should be smart enough to get a decision here. Her knowledge of the sport, her experience. I do worry that a little bit about her, because her and Raquel on the same card is something that can, like the Pettis brothers. So you've got to look at the psychological side of things, but also she's been doing her studies outside of the UFC, so she's been getting her education. She's got like a diploma or whatever it was, and so you think to yourself, is she maybe building for the future outside of the UFC? You don't know, but I think showing the heart to get out of those 4 fights decisions shows that she isn't quite done yet. I think she should be able to get a decision win here, bro.
2 kind of veteran lightweights are up next. We've got Clay Guida against King Bobby Green. How do you see this one going?
I know Clay Guida at 155 is back. He's been there a couple of times. He fought, was it Jim Miller when he fought last? Was that? I can't remember now. How bad's that? I can't remember, like a sieve. He fought Jim Miller anyway. Yeah. I can't remember if that was the last fight. Man, he's just one of the most likable dudes in the UFC, Clay Guida. I love Clay Guida bits. I do worry about his chin, though. And I feel it's had quite a rapid drop in comparison to certain fights over time. He's always got the cardio. That's something he's always got. Bobby Green has cardio because his output isn't that high. Because if you watch Bobby Green fight, he doesn't have. It's frustrating because Bobby Green could be like a Johnson, because he can have the speed of the hands, use that footwork, and just pump those hands out all day. Bobby Green's got surprisingly good takedown defense, which people don't always give him credit for. He's got good defense. He's got good head movement. He's good at knowing his range. Clay Guida's changed his style of fighting a little bit because he's not as erratic as he would be. If folk ever watch Clay Guida from years gone by, they'll see he's just moving around a lot, shaking his head around a lot, and it's not for any purpose to go in to engage. It's just what he would do as his style. He seems a lot calmer. He's holding his position a lot more. His head's a bit more stationed, and he's picking the shots a lot cleaner. But I just don't think he's got the striking of Bobby Green's. I think Bobby Green could use the striking, but my worry is I never know which Bobby Green's going to turn up. That's what bugs me to death. I think Bobby Green, if he turns up and goes, you know what, I'm going to put a show on, he would murk a lot of guys in the 155 division. He's an absolute high-level striker. If he can absolutely murk people with his hands, and he's got a good chin on him too, he can take a hit. And I like a bit of smack talk that he does. I'm going to go with Bobby Green because I just think his hands on him. I think he can probably negate the takedowns from Clay Guida enough and land some strikes on Clay. And I question Clay's chin a little bit, especially because he got rocked against Jim Miller, didn't he, as well? So, yeah, I'm going to go with Bobby Green. I think he should be able to get the win here with his hands. I think he might be able to potentially finish Clay Guida as well.
Yeah, like I say, Bobby Green is an absolute head case. It's like you don't know if he was fully focused and coming into the fight there and not talking about retirement or not doing this, because I don't know how many times he said he's going to retire or this and that. But like I remember years ago when it was like 2014, the UFC were really liking this guy, and they were putting a little bit of stock behind him. But he's just not been kind of at the races really for the last 6 years if you're looking at it. He's got one win in those 6 years. So, and that was against Eric Koch, where Koch was probably coming back after a long kind of breakout from the sport as well. And I mean, to be fair, the guys that he's lost to, Rashid Magomedov, Trinaldo, Drakkar Klose, all really kind of tough guys themselves. And in that Drakkar Klose fight, he was landing a lot more strikes. Even the Trinaldo fight, he was landing more strikes. He can be taken down, but he is super light in his feet, and he can get out there and land some strikes per minute on you. The thing with Clay Guida is that he's getting up there in age, 38, 39 years old. When he loses fights, he traditionally puts his head somewhere that it really shouldn't go against guys who are pretty much submission artists. So Thiago Tavares, Jim Miller, 2 guys are known for the jiu-jitsu. He put his head in there and kind of lost both of those fights. And then you look at the BJ Penn fight, I still think he absorbed too many strikes against the BJ Penn of this kind of era the last few years. So if Bobby Green's his head is in the game, he is far more faster, he's far more cleaner with his striking. I think he can pick at Clay Guida for the majority of the fight. Guida's going to be looking for takedowns in this one, I've no doubt about it. But I've got Bobby Green. I'm not super confident in him, I'll be honest with you. I think that he's a guy that's really hard to be confident in. But I'll take him to win this fight via a kind of... It could be a split decision type kind of fight. But I've got him via unanimous decision in that fight there. Moving on, main card time. A catchweight. Jim Miller against the guy who literally fought a couple of weeks ago, Roosevelt Roberts. How do you see that one? Is it me up next, actually?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
It is, yeah. Good fight. I like what UFC are doing by putting a guy like Roberts in with a guy like Miller, who everybody knows who Jim Miller is. He's been around for years, and he's got probably, I think he is the guy with maybe the most fights in the UFC, I want to say. Maybe him and Cerrone or whatever. So he's a guy that's been around for a hell of a long time, faced the best guys in the division. Kind of looked like he was done with the sport when he caught that Lyme's disease, and he just didn't look like the Jim Miller of old. And then he comes back against Alex White and absolutely floors him with a beautiful strike, submits him. Then he gets another tough fight. He gets Oliveira again, which he's on a streak at the minute.
Yeah.
Then he beats guys like Guida and Gonzalez, who you think he would beat, but then he ran into Scott Holtzman, who was just too tough. And he's the kind of guy you've seen with his last 3 wins, that if he doesn't get you out early, he starts to gas, he starts to fade, he starts to be more hittable as the fight goes on. But you've got someone in Robertson who's still very, very young. He's only been in sports for 3-4 years, if that. And when we're talking about that, Alex, we're talking about Jim Miller. He was losing to guys like Pettis and Pori in that spot, and he had some spots in that fight where he hurt them guys. So especially Pori, he was absolutely destroying with leg kicks. But you've got like the new breed kind of lightweight with Roberts, who's massive for the division, very lanky. Is going to be growing from fight to fight. Maybe not so much now because obviously they're not going to be in camp for that long. He only fought a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Beat Brock Weaver. But this is a big jump up to what he's faced before, kind of name-wise, against Jim Miller, who, if he puts all together, he could probably teach a lesson to Roberts. But I think initially he's going to have a hard time to start off this fight. I think he comes into it more as the fight goes along. I think his length starts to play a big advantage here. I think he can mix it up with maybe some takedowns, but he has to be careful. I'm going to take Roberts, but like I say, I'm not super confident in the sport. Like obviously him against Brock Weaver, you're kind of going to throw money on a guy like Roberts because he should beat a guy like Weaver. But Jim Miller might be a little bit live in this fight, but I'll take Roberts to just tough it out and win a fairly close decision, in my opinion.
I think it's a card full of live people on it. I don't think there's too many dead set ringers for the win. Jim Miller's live 100% because of who he is. You know, look at Alex White. He just pinged out those hands and it was fire. He's always going to have jiu-jitsu. So one thing you don't really want to do with Jim Miller is go to the ground because of the skill set he has. On his back, he can whip out an armbar out of nowhere. And if he gets you back, oh gosh, goodness me, no thanks. I think Roosevelt, as long as he can do what he did against Yankelev, which he can just keep the fight standing, you know, keep it standing on the ground. Don't let Jim Miller get the fight down. You know, fight tooth and nail to keep it up. Use your range, use your jab. I'm kind of going to go with Roberts only because, Clay Guida, I think Jim Miller's a little bit. I don't want to say when he's hit, I don't think he takes the damage as well as he did, and Roosevelt can hit from range and tee off for a bit. I just don't think... I'm just a little bit cautious on how well Jim takes a punch these days. Because I think if Roosevelt can get a bit of because he's just fought as well, he's going to have a groove, he's going to have a bit of, you know, flying with a little bit of confidence about him. I think he'll go into this a bit smoother, let's say, than his last fight as well. He'll be able to almost go straight from the bell and not have to wait. And I just worry that maybe Jim won't take the punches as well as he should maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago. He has looked better since the limestone thing, but I just don't think it's I think it's taken too much off Jim. I think it's took the best of him. We missed the best years of Jim Miller, in my opinion, because of the disease, which is an absolute shame because he was an absolute savage in his prime. And I loved watching. When you told me Jim Miller was fighting, say 5 years ago, I was absolutely pumped because he was insanely entertaining. Would stand on the feet, but when he got to the ground, you were just in for a rough night. I'm going to go with Roberts as well. I think he could. Surprise Jim Miller with the striking and take down defense and keep him up. So I'm going Roberts as well, bro.
So Lyman good against the dude. Belal Muhammad is up next. I love this fight. I'll be honest with you. I think it's a really good matchup. How do you see it playing out?
Oh, my boy Belal, love that boy. Yeah, another potential fight tonight, bro. You know, it really is. Lyman good. He's maybe suppose he's getting a bit more comfortable in the UFC, but he's shown development in areas in the fights that he's had. Belal though is just solid all around fight. He's got solid jiu-jitsu. He's tough, takes a punch, and he can strike as well. He's a very good fighter, Belal. He's a very hard opponent. I was impressed with Lyman Good's fight against Chance Roundtree. Rencounter. Rencounter, that's it. Yeah. I thought it was good against that, but then again, Chance really showed, or it was really apparent, the striking of Chance was not as good as we thought maybe, and his timing, his movement wasn't there, and Lyman was able just to pick away at him all day long. On the ground, I think Lyman's a bit susceptible on the ground if you can get him down there. I think that Belal could have a bit of an advantage on the ground, but I think on the feet as well. I think Belal can compete with Lyman good on the feet because I think Belal offers good movement, good footwork with the strikes. He's got clean kicks as well as his cardio as well. Belal's got superb cardio. Lyman good doesn't look like he's got an ounce of fat on him, so carrying that muscle because he's just an absolute unit is a factor to play in. I just don't know, maybe I think sometimes when I watch Lyman good, I feel like mentally he kind of switches off maybe. He kind of, if it's not quite going his way, it seems like he just doesn't see. Yeah, he just can't. Yeah, I don't know what it is. And Belal's just, even if he's losing, the dude he doesn't care. He just keeps coming, thinking, "I'll just keep hitting you. It might work." I'm going Belal Muhammad. I think Belal, as an all-round skill set, I think he's a stronger fighter. I think he's of the caliber of opponent as well. Belal's fought as well is tremendous. I'm just going to go with Belal because I think he's a better all-round fighter than Lyman Good. So, Belal Muhammad.
Yeah, I've never been super impressed by Lyman Good, and I think people are going to take a lot away from that. Obviously, that last fight against Rencounter, but it showed in that fight that Chance, it's like he doesn't know how to defend getting hit. And the guy's lucky he's actually got a really immense chin because he ate some massive strikes in that fight. And eventually the accumulation of strikes really got to him in that third round and he knocked him out. But even during that fight, if you watch, Lyman Good's kind of blown halfway through that first round because he's putting so much into trying to knock that guy out. And like I say, I kind of piped up when you were talking about him doubting himself, and that's there to be seen during the Zaleski fights when he said, I don't think I can win this fight, I'm scared to get knocked out. And you cannot kind of have that if you're going to be a top caliber guy in the UFC. So I'm not going to take anything away from his Rencounter win because he fought a really good fight and he bludgeoned that poor kid to bits where there was just blood splattered everywhere on the canvas. When I look at Belal Muhammad, just by looking at it and speaking with a few people that kind of know him, I think he just wants it more. I think he wants to really progress himself in the sport. During this whole coronavirus, you've seen him talk about he's wanted to be in the gym, and from all intents and purposes that he has been finding ways to kind of maybe get into the gym when he shouldn't be. So, when you watch Muhammad's fights, I mean, the guy's got a really good chin. He's only really been knocked out once by Vicente Luque, where he caught him right in the sweet spot and knocked him out. He's a guy that he seems to kind of take a few shots anyways. Nose is always kind of reddened up a little bit, but he can mix it up. That's what I like him. I think he's a really good technical striker. I think he can keep a really hard pace for 15 minutes. Coming off, obviously, a big win over Sato, where that was a beautiful submission, by the way, how he had it in one arm, and then adjusted as they moved and caught him clean, absolutely clean on the other side, and took him out there. Got some nice takedowns in that fight. He also got taken down, kind of the judo hips of Sato a little bit, got him down towards the end of round 2, I believe it was. But I actually really like Belal Muhammad this week. I think that, like I say, I think he can just pose a lot of problems to someone like Lyman Good, outwork him for 15 minutes. I don't think he takes Lyman Good out, but I think he absolutely works him for 15 minutes and runs away with maybe a 29-28, if not a 30-27 decision for me. So Belal Muhammad for the win there. Raquel Pennington's against Marion Reneau next. This one I've been back and forth. I'll probably not have a confident pick or any confidence in any of these fighters as the kind of fight week goes on. You've got Marion Reneau, who, I mean, she's getting on now. I think she, on the day of the fight, her birthday, she's like turns 43, 44 years old. That is kind of old for the ladies kind of side of the sport. But then she's facing off against Raquel Pennington, who is super beatable. A kind of 500 record across her career. She's fought many of the kind of top girls throughout her career as well. She's not really had kind of easy fights, you could say, considering earlier on in her career she was facing Kat Zingano and Leslie Smith and notable girls within the sport, Jessica Andrade, Holly Holm, so on and so on. And she's probably hit a pinnacle of the sport by getting to the title fight and not giving a great account of herself. She kind of got beaten by the GOAT, and that happens in that spot. But I think she obviously lost pretty clearly to Holly Holm, lost clearly to Jermaine Durandamy. I actually think she was lucky to come out of the Aldana fight winning that one, even though it was kind of close. I think she has the probably overall boxing advantage. I think that Reneau can be a little bit more dangerous on the ground if she can get into positions that she needs to on the ground. But I feel Reneau sits back and she can stay in her guard a little bit too long and be more comfortable off her back, and I think she can lose rounds through that. So I've got Raquel Pennington. I think it's going to be super close. I would like to actually see Reneau pick up the win here. But I think Rocky's just going to edge a split decision here. I think it's going to be close, though.
Yeah, there's nothing about Raquel Pennington that stands out.
She's just tough. Yeah, she's tough.
Yeah, she'll just mentally grind you down. Reneau, yeah, a little mini resurgent on her. For her age, she's superb, tremendous shape. I think Holly Holm's similar like that. You know, Holly Holm could probably be, when she's like the same age, she'll be in fine physique. You know, the pair of them look after themselves. You know, one thing that does happen is you do see a drop with age. It's a biological fact. You know, things do slow down, whether it be reaction time, whether it be your speed, whatever it is. There is a point where it drops off. Renault's just smart of her fight, and she's clever about how she does it. I just feel here she might get a bit overpowered by Pennington. Pennington will want to just, like you say, I think she'll probably try and box with her, throw the punches, get her to the cage. They're in a smaller cage, let's not forget. Get her to the cage and just grind her out. Pennington's like a grinder. She's an ugly fighter. She's not. I'm not about looks, you know. I'm gonna go with her, but I just mean about the way her style is. She's not a clean fighter. There's no finesse. She downright dirty boxing, grinding up against the cage, clincher, knees, little punches, stuff like that. I think we're going to just see a rinse and repeat 3 rounds here for Pennington. I'd be surprised if it even went to the mat. I just think Pennington will just get that, with that experience as well of who she's fought over the years. Renault's not really fought that kind of level at all, really, in comparison to Pennington. I don't think Pennington's great. I just think when the bantamweight division was created, she was just in that lucky spot to be where she was, and because she's never really left it, because she got the wins she needed. But yeah, I'll probably go with Pennington for the decision winning. I think she'll just be able to grind her out.
Yeah. This is a banger of a co-main event. Absolute great fight. This was, when you sit back and watch both these guys' previous fights, there's a lot of fun times to be had watching these guys fight. You've got Josh Emmett facing off against Shane Burgos. You've got the East Coast against the West Coast. Yeah, how do you see this brilliant co-main event going down?
Oh, it's insanely delicious, this fight, isn't it? Absolutely delicious. But worst thing about it is I am so torn on this pick. Because you've got Shane Burgos, who's got smooth head movement, nice boxing, has his hands low, it baits you in to counter, rips the body well, susceptible to leg kicks. Do note that he is susceptible to leg kicks. He's got, on the ground, he's very good at actively getting back to his feet, reversals, sweeps, all that stuff. He's not a guy who sits down lightly. He's hard to take down, very strong. Whereas you've got Josh Emmett, who has got a solid wrestling caliber, but doesn't bother to use it because he realises he's got these nuclear warheads in his hands. And my worry is Shane Burgos, you just have to land one maybe on him, and that will put you lights out. I think Josh Emmett could land one of those on anyone, and it'll put their lights out. So my fear is, if you're Shane Burgos, you got your hands down. You don't do that again. You can't do that again. You can't do that against Josh Emmett. He can't, can he? Can he? No. You'd hope not. You'd hope he'd at least have his hands a little bit higher than he would do normally. Because the Michael Johnson fight was the one thing that stuck out to me. Josh Emmett gets picked apart for the 3 rounds. He's losing the fight. He's not in it. And he just landed. You only have to have that momentary lapse. And Josh Emmett, even in the 3rd round, has that KO power. Shane Burgos cannot switch off for 3 whole rounds. Now, what he might be able to do is, with the abundance of strikes that he can output, rip the body of Emmett. And if he can rip the body of Emmett, it could slow Emmett down. It could actually damage Emmett to a point where he won't be able to really throw. He won't have the confidence to throw the strikes because he's, maybe the liver's a bit busted. But, man, I am so torn because I think to myself, Emmett just has to land one strike. He just has to land one punch. I'm going to go with the confident. I'm going to go with Burgos only because I don't know why. I just think he's got an all-round kind of mixture on the striking side of things where Emmett relies on that knockout punch. Emmett mixes it up a lot more of the striking. So his output. I noticed with the for example, like the Michael Johnson fight with Emmett stuck out to me quite a lot. If you show feints and movement, Emmett flinches, so to speak. He reacts to them really. He really reacts to them. Burgos does a lot of feinting, so he might be able to put Emmett off his rhythm, break him off that. But mate, I'm not confident, not at all. But I'm going to go with Burgos because one hit punch from Emmett and you're going to sleep.
It's this was one I was watching last week, and it was just. I was actually very, very close to betting Josh Emmett. I'll be honest with you. I thought I think the odds he was at was plus 135.
Solid.
And like I say, you just have to look at the knockouts of that guy because he just needs to touch it. And you obviously watch Burgos and you watch his whole entire UFC fights. The guy just drops his hands low to a point where it doesn't even really need to be a super massive shot. If he was to clip him and just hit him in the right spot, he could easily, I think, knock out someone like Shane Burgos. And we have seen Shane Burgos dropped in the past. Obviously, Qatar finished him with a beautiful sequence of combination striking. Kurt Holloway caught him, dropped him there. But then that fight hit the mat, and then inside 30 seconds, he's winning the fight. He's getting his hand raised because he's submitted Kurt Holloway via armbar. So the risk in this fight for Shane Burgos is always there because he's faced guys in the past here who have hit him, but they've got no real knockout power. So you've got people like Amir Khani. He's not got knockout power in his hands to knock him out. Charles Rosa actually landed quite a lot of strikes in that one, and that's something you obviously watched when you seen Charles Rosa fight last week, that he landed a lot of leg kicks, a lot of even over the top right hands, but he had no power there to really push him back. Cub Swanson landed a fair amount of strikes on him, but he was landing the more devastating, cleaner strikes as that fight went on. And then the Amir Khani fight, he knew he had that guy beat after the first round, and he kind of played with him a little bit, and then absolutely toyed with him and got him finished in the last 30 seconds, which a guy who's not super high in Amir Khani was awesome to see. But like I say, he needs to keep. If he was to show that he could keep his hands up for a whole entire 15 minutes of the fight, he'd be a far bigger favourite than what he is. But he doesn't do that. He will drop his hands probably from the first minute of the fight and be completely open there to being caught by a Josh Emmett shot. But I'm not going to come out here and say that Josh Emmett is knockout a bust, because, like I say, he does come from a wrestling background. We just have never seen it. The last time he really used it was 2016 against the Ranches when I think he got like 8 takedowns. So he has got it there. I just don't think he's going to use it. I think he's got so confident in his hands that he's just going to wait for his opportunity. And you watch the Michael Johnson fight. I think he was on his way to losing that one. Caught him with an absolute nuke and knocked the guy out. But you look at Burgos, he's got double the amount of output that someone like Emmett's got, and he's got the reach advantage to do it as well. So, like I say, I love the fight. I can see why people are betting Josh Emmett, because there's defensive tendencies on Burgos that show up and are not a good look. And you've obviously got a guy, a massive power puncher in Emmett that can knock you out with one shot. But I've got Shane Burgos to win via output. I think that he frustrates Emmett a little bit. And like I say, I was on Emmett initially, but I like the output more of Burgos. I think just be a little bit more defensive if you can be, and try not getting a firefight with this guy, because you could be waking up looking at the lights if you don't kind of stick to a game plan, and he's not really going to really stick to a game plan either, which is a little bit of a concern. So I'll take Burgos.
Just has to do what Johnson did, mate.
Yeah.
Stick that left hand up. Like Johnson was making sure they kept having the corners, put the left hand up, stick and move, hit and move, and it works. It works. It's a game plan that works against Josh Emmett. And like you said, well, Shane maybe doesn't stick to that.
It's two good fighters. It's two really, really fun to watch. You're going to have a great fight here regardless what happens. So Shane Burgos for the win for me. So we're on to our main event here. We've got the heavyweight contenders, and Curtis Razor Blaydes against Alexander Drago Volkov. And like, for Curtis Blaydes, he just needs to keep on winning, because there's obviously a guy that seems to always be in front of him by the name of Francis Ngannou, who keeps doing what he's doing and just knocking people out in the first round. But Curtis Blaydes is really doing what he has to do outside of the Ngannou fights and just running through guys, and that's what he's really been doing. And he's a guy that I've loved watching come through the UFC. I really, when I looked into him originally against the first Francis Ngannou fight way back in 2016, I thought, this kid's really raw, but he's really, really good. And then obviously he gets stopped, but then you've seen what his game is like. He is such a tough guy to face in this division, because his wrestling and his output and his cardio I should say, is kind of legendary, and his wrestling's really good too. And if you have that in the heavyweight division, and then you start to put your striking together, you're going to become a force in this division. And he's beat a lot of good guys. Olenik's a guy that's always dangerous to face. Absolutely destroyed him. Destroyed Mark Hunt. Destroyed Overeem. Abdurakhimov really had nothing for him. He took him down at will there. And then Junior Dos Santos, he knocked him out with standing strikes, which is... And to be fair, he was taking some blows in the initial first round there. But then to me, Junior Dos Santos decided, like, I'm going to try and commit to this hook, uppercut, I should say. And he kind of went to the well with it a little bit too many times, and he did it in the second round, and he caught an absolute clean right hand by Curtis Blaydes. And from the minute he hurt JDS with that shot, JDS was pretty much out of the fight, and then he followed up, he went into the clinch, couple of knees, and then stopped him up against the cage. But the guy, I've said this to a few people, he's a grappler fighter first. He's not going to come out here and strike with Volkov, I don't think. I think it'd be stupid if he does. Don't come into a fight here and look to strike with a guy with Volkov, because if he does, Volkov is the more complete, better combination striker, pretty accurate striker. I actually really like. I really enjoyed watching his fights back and seeing his tendencies with his striking. And he's obviously coming off the loss to Derek Lewis, looked to rebound against I think it was Greg Hardy or whoever it may be. He got that win there. I don't think he looked super impressive, if I'm being honest with you. I thought he gave him the complete vet lesson, picked his shots properly, landed some good shots, also ate more shots than initially than I thought he would. And I felt he could have probably got Greg Hardy out of there if he pushed a little bit. But obviously, if you're looking at this fight, he's got probably the more technical stand-up, and he's got the advantage on the feet. We know what Curtis Blaydes is going to do, and you have to kind of look into that. So you go back to the Tony Johnson fight, Bellator, Czech Congo, Bellator. Those guys took him down. And I don't think those guys are on the level that what Curtis Blaydes is with his grappling. Now, you come into his UFC run, we were in Belfast. We seen him against Tim
Tim
Johnson.
Johnson.
Tim Johnson got him down.
Won the fight as well.
Then you've seen he beat Nelson, beat Stefan Struve. That was a fight I enjoyed watching back because he took some shots on that one, got cut a little bit, but started to really pop the head back of Struve. The Verdum one, I mean, Fabrizio Verdum's a great jiu-jitsu grappler, not really known for his wrestling, but he was landing single leg takedowns on Drago. So yeah, and like I say, he was completely winning that fight with Derek Lewis before getting caught, and that kind of can happen against Derek Lewis on other occasions as well. So I just struggle to see him stopping Curtis Blaydes, taking him down. I think once he gets him down, Curtis Blaydes is so top heavy and he's so dangerous with his strikes and especially with his elbows. He can absolutely bludgeon you. As soon as he hit Shamil with one of those elbows, he was like, right, I'm out. I don't want any more of this. And that was the fight there. I've got Curtis Blaydes. I think he rinse repeats takedowns for the majority of the 15 minutes, goes into the late part of the championship rounds here, and then stops him via TKO due to strikes on the ground. But the betting line, I'll mention that. I'll talk about it next up, but his betting line's like minus 400. Super high for that. I don't think he should be up there, but I'm going to take Curtis Blaydes to win via TKO in the fourth.
Yeah, great fight, really. You know, two top heavyweights. You know, they're two quality heavyweights. Volkov, he just likes to dissect fighters when he strikes. He's not a one punch knockout guy, which is weird because someone that tall and that long physiologically should generate an immense amount of power in his punches, but he doesn't. He just likes to kind of volume guys. He's got good. One thing he's got going for him is those front kicks, those teep kicks. You know, 'cause he's so goddamn tall, he just flicks that out there, and that's right close to where Curtis Blaydes' chin will be, because Blaydes has quite a wide stance with his feet, knees bent, wrestling, so he's there. So something Blaydes should be cautious of, where, like you say, Blaydes will want to initiate the grappling. More so in the first round, just be a little bit cautious for that front kick. I would maybe, if I was Blaydes, engage with the strikes to distract him so he doesn't throw that front kick to shoot him for takedowns. But that is where this fight's going to be won and lost. Blaydes needs takedowns. Volkov somehow needs to learn to defend a takedown. I think Volkov just won't be able to stop it. I think Blaydes is really good at chain wrestling. He can switch his doubles to singles. He's really good at changing the angle of the takedowns. And, Will, you pointed out that his top game is a big plus. That dude is so good on top. He pins you down properly. He gets there, control the hips. The ground and pound is something else. Blaydes has got a really nice skill set. And like his striking is coming along. It's growing all the time. And it's a dangerous asset to have. You've got a guy who can take you down at will, and he can strike. Then you get a bit stuck because you can't take him down, because Blaydes probably got a very good takedown. I'm probably jumping the gun as well. I'm going for Blaydes, but I'm jumping the gun because I'm thinking, right, okay, so you got DC and Stipe, that rematch is happening. When that happens, you don't really want DC to win, because DC said he's going to retire, because then the belt becomes vacant. You can't give Stipe a title shot after a loss again. Then you got Ngannou. Then who do you replace Ngannou to face with? Well, you can't do Curtis Blaydes and Ngannou 3. It's a bit of a weird one, the heavyweight division, if I'm honest with you, if DC wins. If Stipe wins, it's a good thing, because you can have Ngannou coming in to fight Stipe for the rematch, and Blaydes could sit in the background, potentially getting the next fight. I'm going to go with Kurt Blaydes. I think he'll finish the fight with striking on the ground, bit of ground and pound. He'll get Volkov. I think Volkov will just tire in the latter parts, because Blaydes' heavy top game will just tire him out trying to get up. And imagine trying to get the legs of Volkov off the ground. Like, imagine trying to stand up being him. It must take forever to stand up. So I'm going to go with Blaydes as well, bro.
Yeah, one thing I maybe forgot to mention is that Volkov does have submissions to his name. He got some in Russia. He got Ivanov with one in the past. So he's maybe not like a fish out of water down there, but it's not predominantly a skill set that he's kind of really used in years. But he might be able to do something there. But I just think Blaydes' top game is so
So good.
Yeah, so stifling that he's just going to have his way there. So, yeah, it's hard to really, for me, it's hard to look past Curtis Blaydes in that spot. But yeah, that's our predictions for this week, guys. We've got a great card next week with Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker as our main event, and it's a really good card as well. So, Dan Hooker and Dustin the Diamond. So I'm looking forward to that one thoroughly. We're going to kind of get into the bet side here because I think this last week to me was a really tough week for betting. But I only had 2 bets and they came out on the winning side, which is always nice. But this one here, I've got 2 bets. I've got a parlay and I've got an underdog pick. I've bet Tecia Torres. I spoke about that earlier on. Mm-hmm. I got her at plus 180.
Nice.
And I just think where Van Buren is in her career, that's a little bit high for my liking. And Torres, she's definitely taken a step down in competition. Not saying Van Buren's bad, but I think she can win that fight, and those odds are high there. So I took that. I've took Curtis Blaydes, but I managed to get him at minus 200. So his line's literally doubled since I bet him, and I parlayed him with a girl at UFC 251. I might as well come out and say it, and it's Amanda Ribas. And she was minus 400. So I don't usually bet numbers like that, but I think she's got a high opportunity to win. It was like minus 114 with those 2 girls together. And I've got that there. But there is spots in this card I am definitely eyeing up. I mean, I really like Belal Muhammad. He's minus 137 here in the UK. I still think there's value there. I think there's value even up to 150, which is in America there. So I like that bet. I'm hoping, possibly, because money has been coming in Josh Emmett, that pushes the line on Shane Burgos down. I'd like to get him as close to plus money as possible. Yeah. Anything below minus 125, I think I'd be willing to take a pop on probably. I've got a couple that really interest me. Courtney Casey and Marc-André Barriault, because they're both underdogs.
Oh.
They're calling out to me. Courtney Casey's plus 110 in the UK. Barriault is plus 120 in the UK. So it's like you've got dog plays there, but they're hard to feel super confident in. I was thinking last week about betting Matt Frevola when he was an underdog. Now he's went to a favourite. I'll probably be passing in that fight. So there's definitely spots in this card which you can bet. There's parlay pieces in there. There is dogs that you may like. There is close fights. There's probably some decent props out there. Maybe someone like Blaydes via TKO and decision might be a decent number. Burgos via decision, I think, it's a decent number. So there is definitely spots there that I like, but I've only got the 2 kind of plays, Blaydes and Ribas and Tecia Torres, but I'd probably make at least another 2 plays in this card. High probability that I'll probably bet Belal Muhammad and then maybe take another underdog, but I'll have to wait and see. But it's a really fun card with a lot of betting opportunities. And then next week, that like we were speaking before this, I've already got a bet for that card. I might as well just talk about that next week when it comes round. And I kind of beat both lines on that, which is nice already. But we're like 10 days out from that fight, 11 days out, so those lines could change. But we were talking about this before we come on. We're on a complete run of fights here where we've got some bangers coming up. We've really got some great fights. You've obviously got UFC 251, which is a stacked pay-per-view card. Then we've got 3 cards in the space of a week. I think it is on the Wednesday, Saturday, then the Saturday after. And we're talking about
day blitz. It's crazy.
A whole load of fighters from Europe that's going to have fights. Like your Diakazes, you've got Molly McCann, you've got Fishy, you've got
Grundy.
Yeah, Dalby, you've got Jack Shaw that's fights ready to be announced from what I hear. So a lot of good fights, and I'm thoroughly looking forward to watching that fight island and seeing, because it's a pretty unique thing they're talking about. It's like a 10-mile radius that it's just the UFC are going to be in there. They've got the hotel, they've got different spots for the fighters to go and train, and that's interesting. That's really, really interesting what they're doing there. Sure, it's costing a lot of that, and they've probably got some people that are kind of helping the UFC out big time there. But for myself and John, we thank you for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, and be notified when our predictions and all other videos come online. Like the video. If you get any comments, anything that you want to ask, anything you want to just get out there, drop them down in the comment box and we'll get back to you. But for myself and John, we'll see you next week for Dustin Poirier against Dan Hooker, and enjoy the fights when they come around this weekend.